Hey guys, welcome in to the Bear With Us podcast's final episode. What? Did you hear that right? Final episode, baby, for the Bear With Us podcast. And no, I know what you're thinking, Frank. I know what everybody's thinking here. Oh my God, the Packers just killed my favorite podcast. Matt, Matt Eberflus, he decided I'm not going to go for those extra yards. I want to end the Bear With Us podcast. This is how we do it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. We're still going to be here, but we'll tease action for you guys. We have a new podcast coming out. New, different name.
Yep.
Updated logo. Nas is going to be in the logo finally. He's been begging us to put him in there, and we finally caved. So I'm not going to reveal the name, because not everything is set up quite yet, but it's a good name. I think everybody who listens to this podcast, everybody who interacts with us is going to really enjoy it. A lot of collaboration, a lot of hard work, a lot of putting it into Chat GPT to, get us some options. But, we grinded and we found a new name. Frank, I'm excited. Are you excited?
Well, see, here was the thing. I was excited at first, but then I thought, if we change the name, there is a chance that the logo gets messed up. It could be pixelated.
Yeah.
What happened? Do our other views just go away? Do people get confused? Taking a chance is something that I'm terrified of. I'm scared of. So I don't know if I should be excited about this.
You didn't want to fumble the name.
No.
You didn't want to fumble the podcast. Really, you were scared.
Yeah.
And then Nas came in and blocked it, and then we have a new podcast. So very excited to debut our new podcast. This might not even be the last episode, just sort of depends on some back end stuff, but I wanted to be dramatic to start this podcast. Yeah. I think I did a good job. It was a little more dramatic, Frank. Nice transition there. The Bears-Packers game that you and I and Nas and many fans sat through and just had our hearts ripped out of our chests like the guy in Indiana Jones 2, which is technically Indiana Jones 1, I think, because of the timeline. Anyways, they lost. The Bears did 19-20 to the Green Bay Packers. 11th in a row for the Packers, beating us, the Bears. Bears dropped to 4-6. Packers go up to 7-3. I'm crushed, Frank. I'm crushed. I've had a day to think about it. I was trying to take some copium. Oh, well, Caleb played great. Rome he made the plays. The offense looked a lot better under Thomas Brown. Some good play calls, and I can't do it. That was just fucking. I already did it. It's just soul crushing, man. It's hard. It's hard to get through that when it just continuously happens, and then you got your boy Matt Eberflus 0-11 against the Packers or whatever it is.
0-5.
0-5, excuse. Well, it feels like 0-11.
That's because we're 0-11 in the last 11.
Yeah. Matt LaFleur never lost to the Bears. Change quarterbacks, doesn't matter. Jordan Love, ownership is transferred to him from Aaron Rodgers, apparently. Even though he played like shit. And we still can't win, Frank. Caleb Williams gets us down there in the fourth quarter after just a terrible start to the drive. 3rd and 19, cranks out an insane back shoulder to Rome. 4th and 3, gets us the first down with another great throw. The onions, the nuggets that you have to make that throw. Trust your guy. It's what we've been begging for all season. That makes another great throw to Keenan Allen. Matt Eberflus runs one play, set up Cairo Santos. What was it, 46-yarder?
46 or 47.
46. And he just gets blocked. And just the Packers players afterwards, yeah, we thought Matt Eberflus was going to run another play. He didn't. We blocked it. And Matt Eberflus defended his decision with just a classic Matt Eberflus answer, no accountability. I wanted to act like he was smarter than everybody else in the room. Could have fumbled. Could have gotten a sack. Could have turned the ball over. Tip ball. Anything could have happened. Didn't matter because they missed the kick. So, good job, Matt. Frank, this has been building since that Patriots game way back when, 2022, when I told you I don't like that he didn't just go for the kill shot. He kicked the field goal, and that was kind of set the tone for me personally with this guy for the rest of his tenure year. Frank, am I being too dramatic? Am I down in the dumps too much for what we witnessed on Sunday? Please help me get out of this funk.
So my answer to that specific question is no, because we are Bears fans and this shit just sucks. But I do think there is a lot of good that we witnessed in that game. And I kind of want to just isolate that game, because if this was week one, if this was year one of, God, you know what I mean? I was about to say Trestman. Holy shit. I
wouldn't have corrected you because they're all the same guy.
I know.
Trestman, Nagy, Eberflus, all the same person.
We have video proof that they're the same guy. But, you know, we wouldn't feel this way. This is like, even just sort of zooming in on this regime, this is this regime's, this is the feelings of that. So you're not wrong there. But it's like, especially comparing it to what we saw with Waldron, you know, let's just talk offense here, man.
All right. Let's talk some positives. I like it.
Yeah. I feel vindicated in so much of what I said, of what you said, of what Nas said, whether on air, on the podcast, or via text message, whatever, because we were so right about that guy. What we noticed by about week 3 or 4 was like, how are these guys not on the same page? And then we also were like putting together, well, I think it's because there's so many option routes. Like there's no way, like every receiver just looks confused as to where they're supposed to be. And, you know, half the time they would wind up in the same area of the field. They'd run the same exact route because they were seeing the same exact defense and they thought, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be, right?
Right.
And what we saw in that game with Thomas Brown calling the plays was the time to throw way down. Easy throws. Jack, how many episodes have you got on here begging for just easy throws? Just let Caleb get into a rhythm. Easy throws. Nas, the same thing. Like, why can't we just get easy throws? We watch other players, other teams that aren't as talented, that aren't as good as Caleb or the pieces of this offense. Again, I mean, I was watching a little bit of the New England game. I saw Demario Douglas open numerous times. And I'm like, fuck, if Waldron was here, we couldn't get guys who are way better than Demario Douglas open in that manner. And so we saw a lot of that. And if you look at the spray chart after the fact, like, Caleb's just throwing the ball around. It's all over the field, numerous targets. Cole Kmet got more involved. I think the biggest positive, though, Jack, so like outside of the vindication, that's more of an ego thing. That's more of me being right. I'm not going to lie to you. But the one thing that we saw and we complained about or critiqued, whatever you want to call it, was guys like DJ Moore, guys like Keenan Allen, just sort of checking out, not always blocking, not doing things, you know, a DJ in particular being a little bit more of a diva. Now, I'm not excusing some of that behavior, but I think it was very clear based off that game that had a lot to do with Shane Waldron, man. Because that very first screenplay, Rome, and Rome has been a good blocker all season, make no mistake. His film has been phenomenal. But Rome, Keenan, the Gerald Everett, I'm like, these guys are fucking blocking. DJ Moore gets about 9-10 yards. I'm like, oh my God, this is a revelation. Like, I'm not saying I wanted to see more screen passes, but they're going to sprinkle them in every now and then. Everyone does. And the fact that it was successful and the execution was top tier, I was like, listen, say what you will about Waldron. He drew up mad plays, but he also, for whatever reason, I don't know if it'll ever come out, he didn't motivate these guys to get up to do things like that. And Thomas Brown, when did he get play calling duties? On Tuesday? In a shortened week for him to game plan. He's got these guys raring to go, man. So, you hear Cole Kmet, I believe it was Cole Kmet talking about, like, he's very direct. We know what we're supposed to do and where we're supposed to be. That goes to our vindication again of, like, he's drawing up plays and not giving you options. This is where you're supposed to be. Here are your reads. Take them. You look at the way Caleb was, like, tucking and running, and it wasn't one read and go. It was 2 or 3 and go, but it was just quick. It was very fast. It was decisive. He looked good moving out of the pocket, which also makes me think, we didn't even touch on this, but maybe it was Waldron that wanted him to stay in the pocket a little bit more. I know Caleb has been a little vocal about wanting to be that pocket guy, and I want him to be that. But there are times where it makes sense for you to get out of it. You can still be a pocket passer primarily and get out of it, and he did that. Like, everything just looked smooth. Like, I have more, minute points that we can probably get to, but the big positive to me, Jack, And I guess it's like, this is why I guess I don't disagree with you and like say you shouldn't feel the way that you do, but you know me and where my bar is at. My bar is so low. And the fact that we were watchable and they were moving the ball, I listened to our last episode and like everything that I asked for just on the super low baseline, they hit. Now, will that always be effective for me? No. Once they can consistently be watchable, then my bar will raise like, all right, we'll start finishing some of these drives, start winning some of these games, finishing some of these games. As it stands right now, man, and I know it feels so like participation trophy. It's the longest standing rivalry in the world. The Packers beat you again. I get that. I know. And I don't want to come across that way. But like, how can you not have that mindset? Because like, what do we do if we don't? What do we do if our bar is high and we just keep losing? Like, we have nothing to watch for. So for me, I mean, a lot of my metrics were met. I mean, Jack, do you feel any different or want to add to anything in terms of the positivity of the whole of the offense?
Yeah, it's so tough for me only because in all of the positivity, it just reinforces more of the negativity for me because it's just like everything you're saying about Thomas Brown, things that guys have said about Thomas Brown. Caleb, he said as soon as a play happened, Thomas was right on the headset getting me the play. Like there was no wasted time. He was on top of everything. I don't know if it was just being in the booth. He was able to dissect the defense a little bit quicker, but it was very clear that Thomas Brown came in with a specific plan and he knew how to connect plays together, which is something that you and I had talked about for weeks, Nas as well, with Shane Waldron, where it was just like he would call plays, but nothing felt in rhythm. It just felt like he was kind of just going up and down the play sheet and just picking one, as opposed to Thomas Brown, where he was like, all right, I called this, or I'm going to call this, then I'm going to call this, then I'm going to call this. And giving that extra time, there was none of the getting up to the line late, burning a timeout. None of that happened yesterday, which I thought operationally from the offense was good. The usage of DeAndre Swift, a lot better. Kind of wish he'd maybe stuck with DeAndre Swift a little bit more, got him involved in the pass game a little bit more. Keenan Allen, I think, was like second in targets behind Rome Odunze. Still not super happy about that, but I'll take what we got. Caleb, his confidence, I thought, really shone through today. He looked way more confident than he had in since this terrible now 4-game losing streak. But when it really started, we're kind of back to seeing what we saw before that bye week, which I thought was great. He was making throws. He looked a lot more accurate as well on some of those deep throws. I think of that one right out of the second half, that layered throw to Cole Kmet on the sideline, where you're just like, and you're like, oh man, that was a really good throw. And then you watch the, different angle of it from behind, and you're just like, just stuck that right in between that, like no chance.
It's like a linebacker and the safety. Yeah.
It was beautiful. Like that's the type of accuracy stuff that you had concerns about. I had concerns about. Fans were a little bit worried about, but like that was proof that he is going to be okay as long as he has competent NFL coaching. And Frank, the reason I said that the positivity with Thomas Brown still reflects the negative side of it for me, because it's like you interviewed Thomas Brown for the open offensive coordinator position, and you interviewed Shane Waldron. You met with both of these guys in person. You got the feeling from the energy, the play. You asked them everything. You went with Shane Waldron, but you hired Thomas Brown to be, as like well, no one else hired you, so let's at least have you in the building here. And it's just like, it pisses me off, because it's like, where would we be if Thomas Brown was the offensive coordinator since week 1?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to play revisionist history. I'm not going to pretend like Shane Waldron didn't do anything good while he was here in Chicago. But the things that you hear from like the intensity of practices not being coached hard enough, like Thomas Brown very clearly didn't have issues with that. He was very transparent with guys. He was direct. He told you what he wanted, got plays off as soon as a play was over, Caleb was ready to go with the next play. Like that's the stuff I love hearing. And again, the negative aspect of that is just like, how did this happen? Why was Thomas Brown not this guy if he was this type of coach? And it's just a little bit frustrating because it's like we just wasted half of Caleb's rookie season with a guy that's obviously no longer here. When you had a and again, I'm not going to get crazy. They scored 19 points. Thomas Brown didn't light the world on fire. Caleb didn't throw a single touchdown pass. But what I will say is we're not just going to pretend like this Green Bay defense is, something to just sneeze at. It's not one of the worst defenses in the league by far. Frank, QB PFF grades, take that for what you will, against Green Bay this season. Jalen Hurts, 29. Anthony Richardson, 40. Will Levis, 54. Sam Darnold, 45. Matt Stafford, 54. Kyler Murray, 55. CJ Stroud, 62. Trevor Lawrence, 74. Jared Goff, 76. Caleb Williams, 85.2. The best QB PFF grade versus Green Bay. So he had a very efficient, effective game. He did a great job leading this offense. Like you said, he was super decisive, which you love to see. Him running 9 carries, 70 yards, 300 yards of total offense for Caleb Williams. You couldn't ask for any more. But again, it just brings back that question of like, where would this thing be if Thomas Brown was in charge running the show from jump?
Yep. No, and it's a fair question because it's not only from a coaching aspect, Jack. This is something that me, you, and Nas have touched on numerous times on the podcast, how bad they are at self-scouting. That goes down to the players as well. This has been happening for years. So, yeah, that's certainly a concern. I don't know if that concern, that's going to linger because we have no idea what's going to happen after this season. Is Thomas Brown, it's one of those weird things where like they're clearly going to have to get a new head coach. You're going to force the head coach to stick with this OC if he continues to have pretty solid games like this for continuity for Caleb's sake. But then do you also risk him leaving after another year? Like there's a lot at play there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean that's going to linger. I mean that just sort of is what it is. But I guess, Jack, the only other thought that I had on the offensive side of the football, because I did have shockingly something on defense that I think there is to discuss, what do you want to see from Thomas Brown moving forward? And let me frame you where I'm at with things, because just like you said, he didn't set the world on fire here. This was common sense play calling and letting your talent win out on most drives and on most plays and things. Very common sense stuff. A lot of good usage throughout the middle. No option routes that, Caleb was able to read the mic or the safety or whoever he needed to read on that play and make his decision. And he made the right one because he's very good at doing that. He's a good quarterback. So I guess beyond that, because I do think we can expect competency moving forward. Branching off of competency, something that maybe could set Thomas Brown apart, thinking of, I don't know, who's like under a guy like Shanahan or like, McVay, the dudes who are super up top, maybe a notch under them. I don't know, maybe like Houston's OC, for instance, like someone like that gives you a little more flavor outside of just being competent. Maybe not so much this year, but like, are there things that maybe, and let me also say, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. This was the first week play calling on a shorter week to call the plays. So we, I don't want to critique him too much, but based off of that, now that, he's going to get more familiar with the whole operation, are there more things that you want to see from him?
Yeah, I thought it was a very successful first week of play calling, especially like you said, getting the notice on a later, on a late week or later on in the week than he would typically have to start preparing for the next opponent. I thought he did a lot of things that made a lot of sense. Great balance in terms of the run game, in terms of the pass game, which I really like to see. He put guys in a lot of good positions. The condensed formation stuff we talked about last week was the highest it's ever been. He ran motions. He really and motion is super helpful because it gives you an idea of what defense they're going to be in, whether it's going to be man, whether it's going to be zone defense. So it lets Caleb have even more time to sort of pick where he wants to go with the football, what he should be identifying as his first, second, third reads. So I love that. Make it a little bit easier for Caleb. Again, having the 2 starting offensive tackles was obviously a lot more helpful. But again, something we didn't touch on, one of the things that Braxton Jones has done well all throughout his career so far has been run blocking. And for whatever reason, Shane Waldron didn't really ever take advantage of that skill set. Well, we saw Thomas Brown take advantage of that skill set on that DeAndre Swift touchdown run where you got Keenan and like you said, like Keenan Allen's, he's out there, 32 years young, lighting guys up. That was beautiful. And Braxton Jones getting out in space, knocking some guys over. Love to see it. So a lot of common sense stuff. I need to see that carry over. I don't need to see any of the cute stuff, the bubble screens, which were a little bit more effective today. I love that he manufactured touches for DJ Moore. Thought that was great. This is going to be a big test this week against this Minnesota Vikings defense. How is he going to handle the blitzing, the stunts, the twists, all of that have been very successful for Brian Flores this year with this Vikings defense. So I'm at this point, I'm not ready to say, hey, I need to see him put up 45 points. I'm not saying I need a Detroit game that just happened this past week against the poor Jacksonville Jaguars. But I need to see the competency remain. I need to see that balanced attack, especially against this blitzing defense. And I need to continue to see him get guys involved that should be involved. I think it's, again, this game didn't raise my bar for what we should be seeing.
I agree with you. No, I agree with everything that you said. I think it's a good segue into, I wanted to talk a little bit more specific about our boy Caleb. Talked about the blitz. This is going to be a different type of blitz. Brian Flores is a different type of fucking beast. Like these dudes, you're seeing quarterbacks post game like, dude, I don't even, what are you throwing at me right now, man? I had no idea what I was seeing all game here. But the Packers blitz, this is from Ian NFL on Twitter. The Packers blitz Caleb Williams 12 times. On those blitzes, the PFF grade, against, take it for what you will, 94.5, 92.0 pass grade, 8 for 10 passing, 87 yards, 1 big time throw. I don't know what adjusted accuracy is, but 90% accuracy. I'm assuming that means there was a drop.
Sounds like it's a high number, so good.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that was refreshing, one, because again, we saw this in a few games, granted against worse teams, but when they did decide to blitz, Caleb identified where the hole in the defense was and made them pay. But two, Jackie, the one thing that we didn't talk about at all yet, the pass protection was very good. So again, I don't know. We know this line still, from a talent standpoint, isn't the best. But schematically, we've seen offensive coordinators probably cover up worse O-lines than this. These, like, I think the tackles are solid. Tev, when he's in there, I'm going to have to get into it. But this is not the worst offensive line that the Bears have had in our lifetime by any stretch of the imagination. So again, it goes back to like, this team is picking up what Thomas Brown is putting down, because the offensive line, like their gap protection, they're all of a sudden they just know how to recognize stunts and like knew who was blitzing. And like, so I don't know if, I mean, again, it could be something as simple as, hey, we know you can do this, Caleb, but your center is going to call out the line protection for you this one, and you just worry about reading the defense. You know what I mean? Like, because the one thing that Nas said, and I feel like we also have said this, but he, I guess, just worded it where it clicked in my brain. Caleb wasn't being asked to do way too much with Waldron, and he can do it. So on one degree, it was very impressive to see this rookie do some of the things he was doing. But when I was like, yeah, like, don't let him though. Like he doesn't have to be Peyton Manning right now. Like, let him sort of do what he can do, and let him shine. And I think we saw a lot of that. Again, that's speculation. I have no idea what the adjustment was, but just eyeball testing it, seeing the stats afterwards, seeing this offensive line hold up for the most part, something's very different. Now, again, to your point, this is a different beast. This is a different test. We're going to see what they look like against Minnesota. And, not for nothing, the Packers defense isn't awful, but their pass rush has not been very good this year. So that played into our favor too. So I don't want to give the offensive line maybe too much credit. But again, the way they picked up stunts and blitzes was very, very good. As a matter of fact, I still think, I haven't watched the all 22, but I still think those 2 sacks at the end of the game were on Caleb. I thought he moved into those instead of rolling out. So even those 2 sacks, I didn't think was necessarily on the offensive line. So, yeah, I mean, listen, from a development standpoint, from, seeing what Thomas Brown, what else he has, this is a huge game. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, off the top of my head, this is the best defense that Caleb Williams will have played this year. right? I mean, Houston's got a good defense, but I think Minnesota's is better.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's is probably number one.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that. I can't. Colts, Rams, Panthers. Yeah. I think so. I think it's the Packers. Yeah, or excuse me, the Vikings. Yeah, no, you brought up obviously those numbers against the blitz. Caleb taking those sacks at the and still like you got to see obviously that third down play, which was just absolutely insane.
My God.
The interior of the line losing Tevin Jenkins again. It's just like
they lost Bates too. Bates also hurt. It was the first
Ryan Poles, if nothing else, should be fired for his pursuit of Ryan Bates because this dude is like a mythical figure that just like I've heard he plays football and Ryan Poles was like in love with him. He just had to have him, and he dude can't stay healthy, can't get on the field. It's rough. But like this line is going to need so much work in the offseason. I mean, you're talking realistically, potentially upgrading at every single spot outside of right tackle. And that's the only spot that he's invested top draft capital into.
Or top money. Like he hasn't really spent money on the line either. Yeah.
The one guy he decided to pay just didn't want to play football at all.
Yeah.
So listen, we're in a rough spot because as much as I want to be excited about Caleb and Rome and the offense, moving forward here, it's like this stuff overall is still lingering for me, Frank, where Ryan Poles has done so much good, but there is so much bad that he's done as well, where it's just like, and at this point, this thing with Matt Eberflus, it is going to drag him down for me. And we talked a little bit about it last week, not a ton. Matt Eberflus is now 5-17 in one-score games. Of those 5 games, the quarterbacks that he beat in those one-score games, Davis Mills, Bryce Young, Josh Dobbs, Will Levis, and Matt Stafford without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. That's who he's beat in one-score games.
Yeah.
And you have this guy who he thinks he knows what accountability means, but he doesn't know how to actually process it and actually take the accountability. Frank, they're at 4th and 3 at the Packers 49 with 4 minutes left, and he punted. And what did the Packers do? They scored in 4 plays to take the game-winning touchdown. Like, it's so frustrating because if you're any other franchise, if you're any other team, you're probably making the correct decision to punt, right? In that scenario, you're trusting your defense to get a stop, et cetera, et cetera. You are playing for your job, Matt Eberflus. You are 5-16 at the time in one-score games. You've never beaten the Packers. Go for it, man. Just go for it. What do you have to lose at that point? Oh, right, your job and the game, because you're an idiot.
Yeah, well,
and you're a coward.
It's such a weird thing, though, because we've talked about this, not only just about Eberflus, but just generally, especially in like off-season episodes where there's not much to talk about. But
Bears coaches forever.
Yeah, well, it's like, no, but it's not even specific to the Bears. When people are fearing for their job, whether, and they have like a rookie quarterback or whatever, they get more conservative, as if that's ever won football games consistently. I will never understand that, because then I think like, if this was me and you're Ryan Poles, I'm Matt Eberflus, and we finish 6-11, and we're having our year-end meeting, and you're contemplating letting me go. What do I say to you that says like, yeah, I deserve another year? I can't say, hey, like I really helped out with the development of Caleb Williams. No, I didn't, because I was conservative and not letting him make plays until Thomas Brown came in and probably dropped his nuts on my forehead to make it happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you say when that's your angle to try to win these games? It's never been successful. That's the one big critique with Kyle Shanahan is that's why he's lost these big games, because he fucking turtles up. And it's like, how, it can't happen.
Yeah, and you look around, and it just like perfect examples happened yesterday throughout the league. You had Josh Allen on 4th and 2 with just a little over 2 minutes left. They're up 23-21. They could have kicked the field goal. They could have taken a 4-point lead, or excuse me, a 5-point lead, and the Chiefs need a field goal or a touchdown to win. But the Bills said, nah, fuck that. We're not going to give Patrick Mahomes the ball with just a little over 2 minutes left. We're going to get this first down. And you know what Josh Allen did? He didn't fumble, Frank. He ran it in for a touchdown run, 22-yard touchdown run to win the game. Because that's what good teams do. And that's what good coaches do. Jim Harbaugh, what did he do? Same situation as the fucking Bears were in. He didn't kick the field goal. He ran the ball with J.K. Dobbins. You know what J.K. Dobbins did? Scored a touchdown, 20-yard run touchdown. So for people like Patrick Finley, and not to criticize him specifically, well, I guess I am going to criticize him specifically, but he's speaking for a lot of potential Bears fans, maybe Matt Eberflus himself, where he's like, did the Bears really, do Bears fans really think they would have gotten the 7 yards that he needed? Well, we'll never know, because he didn't even give him a chance. He didn't give the team a chance. Frank, I'm going to give you some numbers real quick. Cairo Santos since 2020 with a field goal percentage under 40 yards. He's 70 of 70, 100%. Cairo Santos since 2020 from field goal percentage from 45 plus, 76%. Frank, Matt Eberflus talked about, you could fumble. We could have fumbled. NFL this season, the fumble loss percentage is 0.46. It doesn't happen. You had your kicker. You did not put him in the best position to make the kick because you were too scared to lose, because your biggest concern wasn't missing the field goal. It was the worst possible scenario. And I get you do have to take that into consideration as a head coach. I understand that. But just think about where you are in your career as the Bears head coach, dude. You can't win close games. You can't beat the Packers. You have the opportunity to do so. You didn't maximize the opportunity, and you fucking lost.
You know what's bothering me though too in all this scenario, because you're correct. I have no pushback for you. You're 100% correct. My biggest pushback is, and I don't know if any reporter has specifically about that play, the letting it go down, settling for the 47-yard or a 46-yard or whatever it was. They had 8 or 9 in the box, and maybe we lose some, or maybe we fumble. We're worried about that. Okay, fair game. You're right. It's tough to run in a box. We don't have a play action pass drawn up with one option, and that's it. If he's not there, you throw it away. You roll right, throw it away.
Well, he could have got sacked, Frank. You could have got sacked. What would you do that?
But it's so ridiculous to me, because you can't tell me, but that's why we didn't run the play. What passing is just completely out of the, because you could even go to the middle of the field there. You have a timeout. You have a timeout still. You go middle of the field.
Nope, had to take that timeout home with them.
And it's so ridiculous, man. But listen, this is something that you brought up earlier than anybody, earlier than Hogue, earlier than Johns, earlier than anyone. And maybe it was notated. That was a legitimate red flag from Jack_Savio5 on X.com, the everything app, where it all happens. But no, seriously, you called this. You said, listen, I understand we're trying to lose games, and it's okay, because we want the better draft picks, but that's not how we want to lose. If we just get out talented because of how putrid the roster was, fine. I can't have my head coach. If you're doing this now when we're not going to win, what the fuck are you going to do when it's time to win? And you hit the nail on the head then, and it's only reared its ugly head multiple times since then. It continues to happen. Jackie, you brought up Flus. There was one thing that I did want to share about Matt Eberflus. Let me go to my bookmarks once again. This is from @DirectHim over on X.com, the everything app where everything happens. Matt Eberflus is 0-18 on the road on Sundays. Oh. Matt Eberflus is 0-14. Wait, what does this mean? 0-14. Okay, I don't know what that means. 0-4 versus Green Bay. 0-5 versus Green Bay. 0-4 on a current losing streak of 4 games. This is... And then I thought I starred this other tweet. Jackie, he's in the same ballpark as Hugh Jackson right now. Like it's in Matt Patricia. I forgot what the records were, but he's literally only above them for X amount of games coached as a head coach. He is awful. There's just no excuse for him to be here after this year. Again, we both want it to be this year, but that's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
26 blown leads in the fourth quarter as an NFL head coach.
Well, and then someone calculated
as an NFL coach. I don't think that's head coach. But
okay, I was going to say I know someone calculated it with like blown leads as the defensive coordinator of the Colts for those couple of years too. So it's just this is in his DNA. They tested his DNA and it was not DNA. It was Eberflusy.
It's just like it's just so frustrating because we all saw this coming.
Yep,
we did. Oz, me, you, when we were going over the head coaches that we wanted to pair with the quarterback, they had a chance to reset everything. And then that just soul crushing announcement that they were retaining him. It felt like 2021 all over again. And it's just crazy that Ryan Poles apparently can't commit to being wrong. And it's something that's so disappointing because it's something we gave him a lot of credit for, with guys like Robert Quinn, with Roquan Smith, like him, even Chase Claypool to a certain extent. Like he traded a high draft pick for that guy. And he still cut him. But like Nate Davis, he just refused to cut. Velus Jones, he couldn't get rid of. Like it's this problem that I didn't expect with Ryan Poles, to be honest, because I felt like he was going to be like this cold, calculated GM who did everything that was best for the team. But he's kind of fallen into the same trap that a lot of younger GMs I feel like fall into, where it's just like, no, I can't be wrong. I need this to work out because I made this decision. And it's like, I just would respect everybody if they just admitted what we were all seeing. It's the same thing with Eberflus, like who doubled down today earlier on his decision to just kick the field goal, to settle for the 46-yarder. It's just like, I would respect him just being up front. And I'm sure the locker room would too. This team is just fucking quit on him, man. And your defense did not do its job yesterday. Yeah, they held the Packers to 20 points. That's great. They turned the ball over again. You won the turnover battle, and you still managed to lose. And it's because of this culture that you've installed, which again was supposed to be his big thing, the reason that he was kept.
Jack, wait, can I pause you? Can I pause you right there? Please don't lose your train of thought. I did not fucking know that the T in hits was the ball.
The ball.
Jack, oh my God. I thought it was like tenacity or something, man. When I swear to God, I thought someone photoshopped that. I always heard hits. And when I finally saw it on the wall, I was like, there's no fucking shot.
How is it not takeaways? I thought it was
takeaway, tenacity, something. The ball. That is fucking insane.
He should have been fired as soon as he announced what the hits was. Like it's just, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about, where it's like you've installed this culture of just being afraid to win, of just so petrified of losing. It's so absurd. And again, we talked about it a little bit jokingly, but like seriously, there is a video out there of Mark Trestman saying the same thing, of Matt Nagy saying the same thing, Matt Eberflus now talking about settling for field goals on second downs. And guess what? Listeners of the Bear With Us podcast, name to be changed, Mark Trestman had the best answer. Think about that for a second. Think about how bad it was with Mark Trestman.
Yeah.
And he had the best answer of those three guys. But don't worry, Frank. Don't worry. I've got hope for Bears fans, Kamala Harris voters out there. Matt Eberflus is going to file a report with the league office.
You're goddamn right.
About Sunday's game-ending block field goal. Yeah. He believes that the Packers were on their long snapper and a penalty should have been called.
Oh, yeah.
So don't worry. Things will be different, all right? They're going to line us back up. They're going to let us take that field.
You're goddamn right. That'll show him.
What a fucking loser, dude. It just be like, you know what? It may have been a penalty, but, we got to move on. Legitimately, what is the point of doing that? Oh, wait, it's because you got caught with your pants down and they made you look like an idiot again, and you know you're going to get fired. So now you're just scrapping at anything you can possibly find to keep your job. And it's just like, it's so frustrating that he is still employed. Because the McCaskies are too scared as well to look like potentially the bad guys, even though everyone across the NFL would understand what is happening.
Yeah. And the more annoying thing specifically with this game is the Packers wanted the Bears to win this game. Matt LaFleur did not have a very good coaching game. I mean, we were in text threads with Packers fans, and they were like, "What the fuck is he doing? Like, what are the
on that Jordan
The challenge
Love run
was terrible. The not going for the field goal was terrible. There was one more really bad. I forgot what it was in the second half that Matt LaFleur did, and I'm just like, what is that? I mean, he's like, he wants the Bears to win. Obviously, Jordan Love didn't have the greatest game. This defense stood up tall to him largely. Like, they did not want to win that ball game, and the Bears still were just like, nah, go ahead and take it. Take the 11th in a row. Like, that's very frustrating. Jack, the other thing, though, specific with Eberflus is I don't recall. Maybe this happened with Trestman. There were like breadcrumbs and this weird shit happened. The Trestman regime was weird. I almost want to like throw that out of the window for like weirdness.
Started
but
with
like
Jay Ratliff, right?
Ratliff and
Lance Briggs. It started with Lance Briggs.
It did start with Briggs.
He was he what was it? The restaurant stuff. He was like being excused for practices.
Yeah, because he opened a new restaurant. I mean, there was a lot of weird things going on there. But this is the second time, if not third, that opposing teams are just like, yeah, we would have swore he would have called a timeout. Well, like the Washington game. Oh man, like we were prepared to take that shot 70 yards there. We didn't think he was going to give us a sign.
It didn't matter. Those yards didn't matter, Frank.
Yeah, well, and then for them to say, the Packers, the special teams unit, they were like, yeah, we noticed on film that Cairo didn't have the biggest leg. No, they didn't say it disrespectful. It was like sort of no disrespecting, and we just noticed that there's a little more of a line drive because he has to get he has to get more yardage on it that way. And they were like, we were really surprised he didn't run another play, even if it was for 2 or 3 more yards, like just to get a little. And I'm like, my God, like I just do not ever recall, at least I don't pay attention to like teams to that degree where I'm like looking at headlines and seeing what other teams are saying about their team or whatever, but like. This is mind-boggling. That I mean, it's because they don't mean any harm in it. They truly. I watched the interviews, like seen it. They're just like being asked the question and they're answering honestly. It's not like they're making fun, like, oh, look at Eberflus. But like that's damning. That's so damning that like players are telling you, like, yeah, we were actually planning on doing something else because we thought he was smart enough to do this, and he wasn't. So he like played into our hands. And again, I feel like there was a third time, and I don't remember what the hell it was, but those two for sure happened with Washington and then obviously now with Green Bay.
If I'm the NFL, if I'm Roger Goodell, I'm stepping in and I'm saying, listen, Virginia, I'll give you one chance to keep your team, but you got to get in the ring with Jake Paul for at least 2 rounds, and you get to keep your team if you win, because this isn't Justin Fields, man. This isn't the what was it? What was Justin the fourth drafted quarterback?
Yep.
This isn't Justin Fields. It's not Mitch Trubisky. This is Caleb Williams. This guy's been hyped up for years. It goes to a premier. Oh, I guess I shouldn't say that.
Slow your roll. Slow down.
He goes to an iconic franchise. I'll say iconic. I feel like that's fitting.
Oh, yeah.
Iconic franchise. Big market. Good division. Good rivalries. And they're trying their hardest to ruin him. Now, what I will say is this did reinforce to me that I think I am not as concerned if the Bears do decide to give Caleb Williams his third offensive coordinator starting next season. If Thomas Brown, whatever, it doesn't work out, whoever comes in to be head coach doesn't want to keep him around, cool. Because I think Caleb will make anything work as long as it's good, competent coaching. Like,
right, it can't be Waldron.
Zero concerns with that. But it's like, it's just. They are ruining this franchise. Like this franchise is at the bottom of the barrel now with Jacksonville, with Cleveland, with Detroit, usually, where they're at now. They're just out here scoring 50 points left and right, having a good old time. And it's just like, it's so disheartening because one of the things that I kept hearing people say, and it sounded like copium to me. Well, no, how can Bears fans be upset about losing this game? Like, there's no way no one actually picked them to win. And it's like, Nobody, you didn't pick them to win. You wouldn't have thought they could have won. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, I don't give a shit what you said at the beginning of the game. The point is that the Bears were in a position to beat the Packers. It doesn't matter if I didn't pick them to win. They had a chance to do it. And they found a way that most teams do not find to lose.
Yep.
And for your head coach to just stand behind it and spout nonsense. Well, tough times don't last, but tough people do. Dude, shut up. For you to have the huevos, am I saying that right, Frank?
Yes.
The cojones.
There you are.
To say that to Bears fans, of all people, there are still fans of this team somehow. We've lost, what was 25, now 26 of 29 to the Packers. They've done nothing since 1992. They've been owned by this team. And Bears fans, we've been double doinked. We've been Broncoed. We've been Packered. And we're still supporting this stupid team. So don't tell Bears fans that tough times don't last, but tough people do. Like, we don't.
The one thing, because you talked about like you not being scared if Caleb has to get a third OC in 2 years and like a whole regime change and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm not saying he's fail proof. I don't think any prospect in any sport is. I think he's as close to it as it can get. You know, whatever his stats wind up being at the end of the year, first of all, he's going to have the best rookie season by a quarterback ever. He's already had the most passing yards. Like, he's going to exceed pretty much everything from a rookie quarterback. The bar isn't high, but he has that. But these drives late in games, man, I don't know how you look at these and not be optimistic. You think about the Washington game, which they should have scored twice. That the whole Doug Kramer thing was a whole debacle that we won't dive into again. But this Packers drive as well. Now, granted, I do think he walked into 2 sacks, but he fucking made up for it on the same exact drive. 3rd and 19 dart, 4th and 3 conversion, then a dart to Keenan Allen on an out route. Like, he just, where we've seen guys like Mitch, guys like Justin, and everyone else in between come fourth quarters. Cutler had his fair share of fourth quarter comebacks, but he played so long. I mean, the law of averages, I think, is going to, get to you to some degree. He does not shy away from these moments at all. Like, and, I guess that sort of ends my other point, too, about, okay, they had 10 in the box. That's fine. Or 9 in the box, whatever it was. Would you have had faith in Caleb? Not you as Eberflus, you as Jack. Would you have had faith in Caleb to make another fucking phenomenal throw?
No.
On a bootleg?
No. I mean, well, yes, I guess in that scenario. Yeah, like and that's the thing, too, is before that 4th and 3 throw to Rome, they were 2 and 2 on 4th down, and They ended the game at 3 and 3 on 4th down. They were incredible on 3rd down, super efficient. Like that, and that's what made it so much more frustrating, Frank, with that he didn't trust them to do anything at the end of the game, is because that offense was rolling. They had all the momentum, and then you sort of just like let that panic set in, I guess, where you don't. You're just kind of letting the clock tick down. It's like, okay, I guess we're just doing this. And it's just like, that's what made it, obviously, it was frustrating in general, but just that's what really kind of sealed that, how frustrating it really was.
Right, no, for sure. And make no mistake, because this is my last point. You just segued perfectly. And the last thing that I wanted to say was, last week I'd said, I wish that Caleb was the diva that the media tried to make him out to be. Now, I don't take this as him being a diva. I take this as him being very confident, because you just talked about, not wanting to go forward again, late in games, not wanting to take chances. Eberflus didn't want to go for that first 4th down either. Caleb was yelling at the top of his lungs to give me the, I don't know if he swore, but he's like, give me the play. Like, dude, this is our guy, man. Again, he's going to have another, hopefully he doesn't, but he may have another bad game this year, and it is what it is. But if you don't see the overarching things shining through with what he's done so far in this small sample size of games, you just never liked him or never wanted him to succeed, or still think Justin Fields is the guy. I don't know what combination of those is happening, but there's too much positive for me with him. So I did want to end on saying that this game continued to show me so much about this kid.
We have a real quarterback, and that's really, that's what we've wanted for obviously forever. And again, it's just like we're in this situation now where we're just hoping that everything else around him is going to be now set up for success. And there's going to be a lot more questions that need to be asked and answered. The status of Matt Eberflus, like the fact that it's not even a guarantee right now, like 100% guarantee that he will be gone next year is just a little bit frightening. I still think it happens. If you were to ask me today, I would say I genuinely think he's gone. Like there's too much negative attention around this guy, this situation. It's a national joke at this point where it's just like, it's only going to get worse because this is a tough rest of the season schedule. And it's hard to see, like this feels kind of like last year with that Thanksgiving game where it's like, because remember those rumors were out there last year around Thanksgiving, if you recall, about Matt Eberflus. Like what's going to happen to him? Is he going to be gone after those tough, disgusting losses? And it's like, there's a very good chance that the Lions are probably going to put up 30 to 40 points on the Bears team. And it might not be a very fun Thanksgiving, Frank. Let's just say that. So
yeah,
Caleb is great. I looking past the stats, obviously Bo Nix had a great game. Caleb is still the most talented quarterback from this draft class.
Agreed.
And the Bears hopefully will be able to find a way to maximize that. And if they do, there is good fortune ahead, and that's why I refuse to abandon this ship.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, Jackie. So, I mean, we're not beating Minnesota, are we?
We've beaten better Minnesota teams.
Yeah, we have. I don't know. Listen, this is a big time. I guess the one I'm looking forward to seeing what
it should be an entertaining game, and that's all we've been asking for. Is just give us an entertaining game, and that's what we saw this week with some of those throws that Caleb was making. Like, just give us a game that we don't have to just claw our eyes out because they can't get a first down.
Yeah, and I think this is a big game for for Thomas Brown to continue to show, because again, this was just the baseline competence. This should be the baseline for him. So if he can continue to sprinkle on and add more layers to what he's put on tape, this is going to be great for him.
19 points should be the benchmark for him. Like he should hit 19 points every single week, if not more, obviously. And I think there's going to be opportunities to do so. I really do, because Titans may not have scored a ton of points, but they hit some unfortunate penalties that could have made that game look a little bit closer, and that's Will Levis. So I truly I'm not going to say they're going to win, but I think it's going to be close. Definitely closer than it would have been if Shane Waldron was still around.
Oh, yes, 100%.
But I will say this. The one thing I will be keying in on, again, is how this loss has affected the locker room. Are they going to be able to keep that same energy from making a switch, right? Because that's teams get that big boost, and then maybe it doesn't necessarily carry over when they make a coaching change. I want to see if that will carry over, if those guys will be as engaged in blocks, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Braxton Jones, like, are they going to be as willing to make those blocks as they were this past week? And I think that'll be telling about where this locker room is at.
I agree with you. Brandon Aubrey, or whatever his name is on the Cowboys, just hit a fucking 64-yard field goal with ease. Holy shit. I mean, it had like 10 yards to spare.
With the weakest leg in the league. Great.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. All right, Jackie, wrap us up. Get us out of here.
Thank you guys so much for listening to what could potentially be the final Bear With Us podcast. We do genuinely appreciate all the support. Other big thing to note, there's a very good chance that there will be a brand new YouTube page that this will be being posted to, our new podcast. It'll still be, the links will all be the same. You won't have to go out of your way to find it. We'll make sure to post on X, the everything app, as Frank called it, maybe even Blue Sky. Maybe we'll get the new account posted.
We will have a Blue Sky.
If you like the old days of Twitter, I would highly recommend making an account and going over there. It's a lot less bot friendly, which is great. But we are definitely going to be posting everywhere. You will not need to go out of your way to find our new account, our new handle, our new page, our new podcast, anything. We will make it very clear, very obvious when we do announce what the new podcast will be called. We do appreciate this support genuinely. It's been a fun run for the Corked Up podcast for people who've been with us since day one, the Bear With Us podcast. and the rumors are true, we are changing it because those people stole it.
Yeah, blatantly.
And if you want to, you should show your discontent. Hey, shout out that we got on the Hogan Johns podcast.
We did
a couple episodes ago, so go check that out.
I totally forgot. I tweeted them that too. That was so funny.
It's great. It's great. And I had to double check with you that it was us because of the people who stole it. So
that is true. Yeah, that is very true.
Hopefully we'll be talking about a Bears win over the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully we get to see a little bit more excitement. Caleb Williams continues his great play. And until then, we will talk to you guys next week. Frankie, have a good week.
Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.